Hey guys, I've got the last chapter of Meanest doll in the world for us. We've got chapter 18, which is called Home Sweet Home once again. And Mimi has been laying in permanent doll state for over 3 or 4 days now. So let's see what Kate's going to do with her. On Thursday morning, Annabelle attempted something for which she had not had the courage in quite some time. She left the dollhouse, walked down the Palmers' hallway to Nora's room, and knocked on the Funcraft's front door. The captain was again banished to the first floor, and Mimi continued to lie unmoving on Kate's desk, so Annabelle felt safe for the first time in a very long time. Her heart was heavy, though, and she knew she wouldn't feel better until she and Tiffany had talked about their fight. I forgot they never got a chance to talk about their fight because of what happened with Mean Mimi. Hi, Annabelle, Tiffany greeted her. Hi, Annabelle replied. Tiffany, we need to talk. Can we go somewhere private? Tiffany looked around Nora's room. How about the shoebox in the closet, she suggested. So Annabelle and Tiffany sat in the empty shoebox, which was lying on its side at the back of Nora's closet. So here's a picture of them sitting there together. We need to talk, don't you think? Said Annabelle a bit nervously. About Mimi? Asked Tiffany. No, about our fight. Tiffany poked at her shoe. Yeah, I knew that was what you meant. Annabelle drew in a deep breath and let it out slowly. Okay, she began. You see, I thought we were best friends. I thought so too, said Tiffany. Then why did you tell me and Mimi all those private things I told you? I know I didn't say not to tell them to anybody, but I thought you would understand that. But Annabelle, I didn't tell Mimi anything. I barely even talked to her. Then how did she know that I fell in the spider's web on the exploration with you and Auntie Sarah? And how did she know that I think I always ruin things? Tiffany shook her head. I only said those things once, the night in the attic, the night you and I snuck to the attic to talk. Tiffany had been frowning, but now her eyes widened. Oh, she cried. Annabelle. What? Remember when we heard that noise and we thought maybe it was a mouse? I bet that was Mimi. I bet she was up in the attic eavesdropping our conversation. And, Tiffany continued, I bet the mouse we thought we heard at BJ's was Mimi crawling into the backpack. Oh, ew, Mimi exclaimed Annabelle, and then Mimi was so sneaky. She was devious. Those other things she said about you and Auntie Sarah planning an exploration without me. We never planned an exploration without you. Mimi said you did, though. She also said that you said that I wasn't fun to be around, that I'm boring, and you were tired of hanging around with a fraidy cat. I guess she just made those things up. Of course she did, exclaimed Tiffany. I would never say anything like that about you. Don't you know that, Annabelle? You really are my best friend. Tiffany paused and looked thoughtfully at Annabelle. How could you believe such things? I guess, Annabelle answered, because those are the things I worry about. They're the things I'm afraid might be true. I wonder how Mimi knew all that. She certainly was smart for such a horrible doll. Tiffany, I'm sorry I didn't believe you. And I'm sorry I called you a traitor. And I'm sorry I called you a liar and said you were my former best friend. You'll always be my best friend. And you'll always be mine, repeated Annabelle. By the time Kate returned from school that afternoon, Annabelle and the dolls were in the places in which Kate had left them the night before when she had tidied up the dollhouse. Annabelle was propped against the end of her bed. It's not a bad place to be left. Annabelle was propped against the end of her bed, looking out into Kate's room. She had a good view of things when Kate delicately picked up Mimi, studied her, and then called, Grandma Catherine? A moment or two later, Grandma Catherine appeared in Kate's doorway. Kate held Mimi out to her and said, Look what I found in my room last weekend. I don't know who she belongs to. She isn't Nora's, and I asked at school if she isn't Harmony's or Ayana's or Rachel's. Nora asked Martha, and she doesn't belong to her either. Said Grandma Catherine. That's strange. You have no idea how she got in your room? Kate shook her head. Suddenly, she was just lying on my floor. Nora just thought she saw her jump off my bookcase, she added. Grandma Catherine frowned, but all she said was, Well, I suppose you should take her to the lost and found at school. That seems like the best thing to do. Okay, agreed Kate. I'm sure she belongs to one of Nora's friends. On Friday morning, Kate stuffed Mean Mimi in her backpack and took her to school. When she returned that afternoon, she reported to Grandma Catherine that she had left the doll in the lost and found bin. Tiffany, said Annabelle late that night as they played in the nursery of the dollhouse, I had a horrible thought today. Tiffany put down the alphabet block she had been tossing from hand to hand. What was it? She asked. Picture? Well, I was just wondering, what if Mean Mimi was pretending? What if she was fooling us and she isn't in PDS at all? I mean, what if she's still alive? Ugh, Tiffany shrieked softly. Annabelle, that really is a horrible thought. I know. Well, we can't do anything about it. Breathe in, breathe out. The truth is, Annabelle said after a moment, she probably is in doll state. Permanent doll state. That makes the most sense. Yeah, agreed Tiffany, it does. Tiffany, do you think about the dolls at BJ's house very often? Every day. I wonder what they're thinking now. What do you mean? I wonder what they think happened to Mean Mimi. After all, she's been gone for a long time, and as far as they know, she just disappeared. I'm sure she didn't tell anyone what she was going to do, so all Waterfall and the others knew was that suddenly Mean Mimi wasn't around anymore. Do you think she's hiding now? Do they think Callie lost her somewhere? I don't know, replied Tiffany, but I bet they're feeling pretty comfortable. I bet they think she's gone for good. Annabelle smiled. I hope so. We know she's in Lost and Found, and Callie won't think to look for her there because she didn't take Mimi to school. You know who I've been wondering about? Asked Tiffany. Who? Techno Man. Techno Man? Why? I feel bad for him. But he was evil, said Annabelle. No, he wasn't. Not really. He just had to act tough for Mimi, and you saw what happened when his helmet came off. He was embarrassed. It was like he has been lying to everyone, and suddenly he was caught in his lie. But I don't think he's a bad doll, and I bet he got back in the bucket of action figures before BJ came home. I wonder if he's made friends with the other dolls yet, though. Annabelle shook her head slowly. I don't know. She traced the letter S on one of the blocks. You know what the sad thing is? No matter what happened to Mean Mimi, she probably thought she didn't deserve it. If she's in PDS, she can't think anything, pointed out Tiffany. Well, no, but before that, before she jumped off the shelf. I'm talking about all her life, when she was here at the Palmers and everyone realized how mean she was and we tried to trap her and everything. And before that, when she was at BJ's and she kept doing things to make the other dolls mad at her. It seemed like no matter what she did or how people reacted to her, she still thought she was better than everyone. And she was right, and they were wrong, and that everyone was mean to her. Didn't she ever understand? Maybe not, said Tiffany. Remember Francine? Even after Miss Feldman caught her teasing Kate and reminded her of the class rules and made her apologize, Francine was still mean, as if it was Kate's fault that Francine had gotten in trouble. Annabelle sighed. I guess that's the way it is with bullies. They never learn. Maybe not with all bullies, maybe just some, said Tiffany. You know what? I just realized that your idea worked, Annabelle. What? Remember you suggested that we do nothing about Mimi? You said not to poke a stick in a hornet's nest and that if we let her alone, she would get in big trouble and do herself in? And that's exactly what happened. Annabelle smiled. How did you know that that's what would happen? Because Annabelle is a thinker, said Auntie Sarah from her room. I'm sorry, girls. I couldn't help overhearing your conversation. That's okay, said Annabelle. Come downstairs, Auntie Sarah called. It's time for a talk. Another talk, Annabelle whispered to Annabelle with a small groan. I think this one will be more pleasant than the one about our fight, Annabelle whispered back. Annabelle and Tiffany followed Auntie Sarah all the way down to the parlor where the rest of the dolls were gathered. We need a family meeting, announced Auntie Sarah. Can I come to a doll family meeting? Asked Tiffany. You're part of the family, Mama replied, and Tiffany grinned. I want to say, Auntie Sarah began when everyone had settled down, that I believe we owe Annabelle a thank you and an apology. For what? Asked Bobby. A thank you for showing us a wise way in which to deal with a menace, an apology for not putting more faith in her ideas. Annabelle was exactly right about Mimi, and I think we should recognize that. Annabelle, I know sometimes you worry that you're not as daring as Tiffany, or you, added Annabelle, or me, or as brave as Bobby, Auntie Sarah continued, or the Funcrafts, added Annabelle, or the Funcrafts. But you have other strengths. You have a good brain and you put it to good use. You have a good heart, said Papa. Yuck, said Bobby, but he smiled at his sister. And you're a very good friend, said Tiffany, even if we fight sometimes. All friends fight sometimes, said Uncle Doll. Annabelle went to bed that night thinking warm thoughts about friendship and her good brain and heart. The warm thought stayed with her the next morning while she lay stiffly in the dollhouse as Kate got dressed. This was often Annabelle's worry time, and today she was tempted to worry about what might happen if Mean Mimi weren't in PDS after all, if she had been doing a very good job of faking and might one day return to the Palmer's house in Kate's backpack. But she reminded her good brain to think positively. The warm thoughts were still with her later in the morning when the Palmer's house was quiet and Auntie Sarah said she thought it was high time she returned to the attic to begin work on her spider farm. Now that the menace is gone, she added, does anyone want to come with me? I bet Tiffany will, said Annabelle. And you? Asked Auntie Sarah. Annabelle thought for a moment. Well, I'm still afraid of spiders, she admitted finally, but I do have an idea about how to harvest their silk. Wonderful, said Auntie Sarah, clapping her hands together. You may show us tonight. But that evening, before Annabelle had a chance to show off her idea, Nora snagged her and Tiffany and Bailey and plopped them down on the floor of the bathroom propped them down on the floor of the bathroom. Time for Miami Beach a go-go, she said. Nora was once again dressed in her bathing suit and goggles and flippers. She ran water in the bathtub and tossed the fun crafts into the small waves. Then she placed Annabelle in the soap dish. So we're kind of back where we started at the beginning of the book. You can be the lifeguard, she said. Annabelle smiled to herself, so this time she had a role in Nora's drama. Maybe she wasn't floating and bobbing with the fun crafts, but she had been assigned an important job. Annabelle gazed ahead of her at a corner of the bathroom and thought she detected a small movement by the floor. She had stared hard and realized that a spider was spinning a web there, a spider she thought might be a Tenageria domestica. Annabelle thought of Auntie Sarah's spiders and how they work quickly and diligently so that they're able to spin web after web. Spiders are tenacious, Annabelle realized. They start new webs and work, and if the webs are damaged or destroyed, they simply repair them. I'm tenacious too, thought Annabelle. I'm diligent, I watch, and I wait, and my good brain and I are tenacious and diligent like spiders. Annabelle and her spot in the soap dish made a list in her head. Tenacious, diligent, a good brain, a good heart, a good friend. Then she added, a family who loves me, good friends in return. There was nothing boring about any of that. Here's one of our last pictures, a spider. And then we have the and we got to the end. I think there's a couple more pictures here at the end. I'll show you. Yep. So I think this is back at BJ's and Callie's house. We've got the Sandra doll, Sleeping Billy, the Troll Twins, PJ Party Pals. Oh, there's Carl. And then the cutouts. And there's a little piece of paper here that says, we love Annabelle and Tiffany. Because they kind of saved them for me, Mimi, didn't they? Little notes about the author and illustrator. And then, so at the beginning of the regular Doll People book, and I know some of y'all have the book at home, in the beginning of the books, it's got kind of like the papers that came along with the doll family. And then the front of the dollhouse, and then what the inside of the dollhouse looks like. And then at the end here, it's got, this is kind of like the papers that came with the Mean Mimi, Princess Mimi doll. I think that's the last one. Yep, that's it. And then for some reason at the end of this book, it has the first chapter from the first book. I'm not really sure why. But, all right, guys. So, good luck on your AR quiz. I'm not exactly sure how many points it is, but I'm sure it's at least like probably 3, 4, or 5 points. So, good luck. Do your best. I can't wait to hear how you do. And I'll see you later. Bye.